Happy Sunday. Hope everything is going well. Mars, how are you doing today?
It's too damn hot. Somebody tell me why it is almost 80 degrees in November.
What?
I'm
Okay.
dying. Send help for the
So
East Coast.
it is 41 degrees here right now.
I wish.
So I'll take some of that. You get some of the rain. It sounds
No,
like I've
we
been
have
reading the.
rain. We have rain. It's muggy and it's humid and I'm
Oh,
dying.
ew. Ugh. Ugh, I don't like it. Um, well, there is here in the Pacific Northwest, it's like a switch was just flipped, and we are now in rainy, uh, stay inside and read comics type weather, even though
Oh, the
it's like that for me
best.
all year round. It's so snuggle up and read some comics, or right now you can listen to us talk about some comics.
Hell yeah.
We have some really surprising ones, like my stack. There were some that I was like, on, but there was also some that I'm like, damn, this one was really surprising. How was this one
Yeah, it
this
wasn't
damn
it wasn't
good?
a huge week for comics. You thought it was going
No.
to be a huge week, but there was some bangers in there and that's always the best. Is even though the stack isn't the biggest, when there's some bangers in there, it kind of reminds us why we do what we do.
So I feel like what you're saying, Mars, is that size doesn't matter. Size doesn't matter. It's how you hit that stack of comics or how that
Okay.
stack of comics
Nice
hits
save.
you.
Nice save. Nice save. Perfect. Love
What? Did you
it.
think I was talking about something else?
Um, I with you, I never know.
With me, you know. With me, you
With you,
know.
I do know. Okay, let me take that back. With you, I do know.
So I want to go ahead and say hi to some people in the chat. Hello to our friend John. Here we go. Who's doing their grocery shopping? Hello to Travis TM Nerdy. They were the first one here this morning. So thank you for being here. Bobby De La Ghetto. Hello. I can't tell. Is that like a mug of beer or it's
Oh, I
early
want some beer
here?
now. It's
Oh
not.
my
It's not too
god.
early here.
I went drinking last night and I got like a, a hot toddy type thing, and it was too
Mm,
cidery. It tasted like beer to me, and I just didn't
too
like it.
much.
Too much. Just give me hard liquor. Anyways, hello to Super Stick Boy. Good morning, all. Our friend Josue and me. I want to say happy birthday. I
Yep.
don't know if I slurped it out, but
You did. You
happy
just took my
birthday.
happy birthday, but happy
Sorry.
birthday to our friend Josue.
Happy birthday, Josue. I don't know if you're working at the shop today, but it'd be cool to see you soon since I haven't seen you at the shop in a few minutes. So happy birthday to our friend Josue. Hello to Niall. Good morning. Hello, everyone, and hello to our friend Scott. Hi, friends. What is two thumbs? What is two thumbs and wearing sweatpants all day? What is two thumbs? I think Scott meant who
Who
has two
has?
thumbs. What is two thumbs? I feel like this is a weird ass riddle and it's too
Are we
early for me.
thumbs from Spy Kids?
What is
Are we the thumbs from Spy Kids?
I don't know. The only thing I remember from Spy Kids
How do you
is
not remember the horrifying thumbs?
because I remember Steve Buscemi, and I have a shirt with his face on it that says, "Do you think God stays in heaven because he too fears what he has created?"
You know that's the second movie, right?
That's the
not even
second
the
movie.
first one.
That's literally the only thing I know about the Spy Kids franchise is
No,
Steve
there are
Buscemi
two
delivering that
things.
classic
There are
line.
two things to remember about Spy Kids. A, those horrifying thumbs, and B, that really cool fucking machine that Junie and Carmen use where they stick like the little card in the microwave and all of a sudden they have McDonald's. Like, I still want that as an adult. Instant
Oh,
McDonald's.
I'm looking up Spy Kids thumbs
Who
images.
decided thumbs would be a good idea for a villain?
Is this what you're referring to?
Yes, the
I'm
fucking
pretty sure
thumbs in the red
this is
jumpsuit.
exactly what this reminds me of. This is the exact cover for Seven Sons.
Oh my god, it is.
So anyways, thank you for that. Maybe I'll go back and watch Spy Kids. So thank you for that. John, also doing grocery shopping. Please don't take your pants off in the grocery store. You said you just changed out of your sweats. Yeah, so you can wear sweatpants and Crocs to the grocery store. Yeah. Hello to Gabby, fantastic girl. Hey friends, happy Sunday. Let's see, our friend Damien, Sleepy Reader 666. Howdy, howdy. Yes, it is rainy AF. And then hello to Sanimation. Good evening, ladies, and hello to everyone in the chat. Scott says that their shop continues to have shipping delays, so I am quite behind. Yeah, I saw you post on Instagram. You posted that you got the High Desert and two other good books. The new Hayao Miyazaki book, which I also got this week too. So let's see. I think everyone else is just the Great Spy Kids controversy of 2020. That's exactly what it is. Okay, so per usual, there's not a lot of news, but let's get into it. What's some news?
Get into it. So, first thing right off the bat, AWA Studios, who publishes some of our favorites like Not All Robots and Hit Me and the Joneses, they recently announced that they are the newest publisher to split from Diamond and will now be teaming up with Lunar Distribution as a distributor for their comics.
Was insane to me because just last week they were at Baltimore Comic-Con. They did the Diamond Retailer Summit. So Diamond has been the kind of like one and only monopoly on comic book distribution. And so they were there hanging out with their Diamond pals, and it's like, gotcha, suckers, we're leaving.
And it's kind of insane. I mean, it's expected because at this point it's a matter of, what publisher this week is leaving Diamond and going to either work with Lunar or with Penguin. But I'm going to be honest, I'm actually kind of surprised that AWA chose to go with Lunar over Penguin because it seems that Penguin has all the heavy hitters.
Penguin's got Marvel.
Lunar, they do have DC Comics, but Penguin, they have Marvel. They have, I believe it was Dark Horse, or was it IDW that recently went with Penguin?
It might be IDW.
And then there's just a couple other ones. I believe that Volt is now going through Penguin.
Dang.
But it's insane. So is this the fall of Diamond as we know it? I feel like it is.
I considered that about 2.5 years ago whenever DC initially split from Diamond. And Diamond is still here. Diamond is still, I don't want to say they're fucking things up because there's so much that gets fucked up delivering comics to the comic book shops. Like, it's not just the distributor. It could be, just regular shipping delays, COVID, whatever. I'm not surprised that AWA went with Lunar because Scout is with Lunar, and I feel like maybe I don't know.
They're on the same playing field almost.
Yeah. But I do think about, like, once again, how does this affect comic shops? Now that we've seen so many publishers split from Diamond, I'm really curious what type of deals are these distributors providing that Diamond didn't? So, like, are they like, come over here, I'll treat you better, I'll give you better sales discounts or whatever it may be? How are they getting
returnability and things like that?
Which Diamond at their retailer summit did announce a lot of really like cool things that were meant to keep publishers and meant to be better for comic shops as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of next year we see, because that's a lot of revenue that Diamond is going to end up losing. Like, will Diamond be here in a year? So check the clock. We're going to set a reminder for 1 year from now and see, Diamond, where you at?
So another announcement that we have from this week is Volt Comics had kind of a huge announcement, and that was that they announced the new imprint called Headshell, which apparently is a line of comics that they are working on with music collaborators. So they're going to be working with bands like Metallica. They're working with, my childhood boyfriend, Pete Wentz, the Fall Out Boy, Def Leppard, the Beastie Boys. And I gotta say, this is really cool for a couple of reasons. A, because it's just really exciting to see Volt kind of go from this like small little indie publisher that nobody really knew about to now they are becoming this big, heavy powerhouse publisher with multiple imprints. They've got all of these really great books that are coming out. They're working deals, it seems like, across the board. But I think it's also really exciting because the idea of music collaborating with comics is such a simple formula. You know, these are
Yeah.
two things that work very well together. If we look at books that already combine things like music and comics, we look at a book that Volt published, Radio Apocalypse, which, you know, we saw the integration of music into its story. And unfortunately, while that series isn't continuing anymore, I think it really did make an impact on comics that might have kind of helped shape this new Headshell imprint. I mean, we look at What's the Furthest Place from Here, which every issue they were releasing a little LP vinyl record with 2 songs that represented that particular issue. So it's really exciting to see, and I hope it's more than just, you know, okay, these creators are, you know, working with these big bands and we're using the name to kind of sell it. I don't want it to be another Berserker. I want to see the full integration of music with comics. Do like what we saw with We Live, where every single issue had its own piece of music, where if you scanned it with a QR code, you could play it on your phone, you could listen to it while you read. I want to see more collaboration like that.
You know, I'll be very honest, I'm a little bit hesitant because even though I do like what you just mentioned, where We Live did a little QR code, you scan it, you listen to music. I really enjoyed that. I'm very curious where, how it's going to really make the comic a good thing, because where we've seen a lot of comics that are written by actors, for instance, Berserker, not necessarily that it's a bad comic book whatsoever, but I think about Mother of Madness, which just was an almost infuriating book because it just didn't feel well written.
It didn't feel like a true collaboration, you know, and we kind of talk about this where celebrities kind of integrate themselves with comics, and you can either go one of 2 ways. You can either go the Mother of Madness route, or we can have a collaboration like Oscar Isaac and Christian Ward, and Oscar Isaac in interviews literally praising Christian Ward and his art and being like, no, that's the one that I want to work with. And it's like, it's kind of like that good and evil with celebrities in comics that is really, really funny. But hear me out. Volt Comics, I know you're listening. We're pals. We've been pals for quite some time. You know, you got this new imprint that's music focused. All right. I need just 2 collaborations, right? Hear me out. I want to see a Run the Jewels collaboration because they're huge fucking nerds. They love comic books. Comic books are a big part of the reason why they do what they do. But the real one that I need to see, and I need this in my bones, I need this. Give me a Megan the fucking Stallion comic book, please. Thank you. Give me 40 fucking covers that I can collect and I can hang all throughout my house. Let me write the Maggie the Stallion comic book.
There you go.
And I just want more Maggie the Stallion merch. All right. She's already teamed up with anime and Crunchyroll. It should be an easy fucking jump for her to go from anime and manga to comics. Let's be real. It's there.
I think that would be fun. Right now, it seems like there's a lot of like alternative and like rock and roll, like, you know, Metallica's the big easy one to see. But I really want to know, like, I really hope that bands do get experimental. Like, to me, Megan Thee Stallion seems like the perfect one, even though it's not immediately obvious. So I'd be very, very curious how they can maybe like, I would hope that they would bring people, like, that's what I'm here
for. Do all types of music genres, because right now a lot of the stuff that they've announced is a lot of like rock and roll focused stuff, a lot of older stuff. And hear me out, I kind of just connected dots in my own head of a perfect collaboration with this new imprint and with musicians. Y'all, My Chemical Romance is making a comeback in 2022.
And
My Chemical Romance is fronted by Gerard Way, who already writes comic books like Doom Patrol and fucking Umbrella Academy. Put MCR at the forefront of Headshell. Let Gerard Way write you some little comic book goodness. Let me talk to Gerard Way, since I'm a comic book journalist. Let me live my dream. Let me talk to Gerard Way. I just want to connect me and Gerard Way somehow.
Bring me Gerard Way.
Bring Gerard Way to me.
Yeah, I think it'll be really fun. I want to see more than just rock. I I just feel a little bit burned because I bought the Dio comic book, The Holy Diver. I love Dio. I love Dio so much. That comic book, I'm not going to lie, was kind of trash. I did not like it. And yeah, Opus
Can I
does.
get a Danzig comic book? I feel like
Um,
Danzig. How has Danzig not done comics? I feel like Danzig has done comics. Danzig has done comics. Jen's gonna reveal it to me right now.
yeah, go ahead and keep talking.
No,
Keep
I don't know what to talk about. What do you want me to talk about? Don't leave
Um,
me. Don't abandon me.
talk. Oh my goodness.
Don't do
Talk
it.
about. Shit. Give me like 5 seconds. 5.
Oh no, I'm scared. All right, so I guess we're just going on musicians that should capitalize on comic books. So we've already established Run the Jewels, Megan the Stallion. You know, if we're throwing Maggie in there, we could throw a little bit of Doja Cat in there. I think that would be really, really fun. Again, Fall Out Boy is already getting into it, so obviously we got to bring in their rival, My Chemical Romance. And if we really, really want to get edgy, we could bring in Paramore as well. At this point, I'm kind of just selling myself, and just telling everybody what an emo fucking baby that I am. It's fine. It's cool. I'm almost 30 and I'm still an emo kid at heart. That's fine. What about Kate Bush? Would Kate Bush be into comics? I feel like Kate
Yes.
Bush. I feel like if we just did
Yes.
a comic around Kate Bush's music, she doesn't even got to be a part of it. Oh my god, there is a Danzig comic.
So
I
hear
need
me out.
that.
This actually just came. So this comic has been kind of a thing for a little bit. It's been hard to find, but it's Henry and Glenn Forever and Ever. This one's a new Ultimate Edition that just came out. Like it collects there were 2 volumes of it, and it's basically about how Glenn and Henry Rollins and Glenn Danzig live together and are in like a cute little relationship and do normal ass shit like go shopping and make meals. And so anyways, there is, even though like I don't know, I have a love-hate relationship with Danzig, yes, there is a Danzig
Okay.
comic book.
I need this. Thank you. I need this. Thank you. Listen, I've really gotten into the Misfits lately. Like within the past like 2 years, I've become like obsessed with the Misfits, which is funny because you would think that little punk like high school me would have really been into the Misfits as a kid, but it took me until my late 20s to realize how much I love them. So,
Yeah.
you know, we learn things about ourselves all the time. It's fine.
You know who that band was for me, ironically, and I feel like there's going to be a couple people in the chat who are like, what, really? That band for me was Sonic Youth. So as someone like growing up and like listening to alternative music, all of that, I never got into Sonic Youth until I would say like right before the pandemic. So just about 3 years ago, I started getting into Sonic Youth when I like exclusively listened to alternative music. But anyways,
Love it. Love it.
okay. So what other news do we have?
We have one last bit of news, and for me personally, I feel like this is kind of a big one that has kind of snuck its way under the radar. So it was recently released that Image Comics would be teaming up with Comic Plus. Which apparently, and I just found this out, it's teaming up with Comic Plus and the Library Pass. And the Library Pass is apparently this huge multimedia like service that is free as long as you have a library card or you have access through your school. It kind of works almost like Hoopla. But Image Comics is teaming up to the point where they're going to have a majority of their library available entirely for free for anybody who holds a library card. And I think that this is huge. I am so mad that this is sliding under the radar the way that it is, because the more accessibility that we can make to comics and the more free comics that we can put into the hands of people, the more fans it's going to create. Because at the end of the day, what is our motto?
Comics are for everybody.
Comics are for everyone.
Definitely. I think the reason why is because for people like me, I like to read a print comic right in front of me. There's situations where 100% I'll read a digital comic book. And I think that the people who are going to utilize this the most are going to be people who are already utilizing it. So people who are already utilizing their local library, as well as, is it Hoopla? Is that systems like Hoopla, where you can like virtually check out books, and you can do like audiobooks and things like that from your local library without having to go to your like physical library location. Or there are some I'm very curious how it will work, because even libraries selling, or sorry, borrowing digital copies of books to people, libraries are still limited. Like, they can only have so many digital copies that they can give to people. Like, there's a weird kind of agreement. And what that ends up doing is, like, because books still rely on libraries buying those books. So I'm very curious how the rights and how publishers are going to get paid in this way, while also providing this to people. So will it,
Mm-hmm.
how will that work out? But I hope, my biggest hope with everything is, like, let's get more comics into the hands of more people.
Mm-hmm. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of a big announcement that, like I said, I didn't feel like a lot of people were talking about. So I kind of wanted to spotlight it because, again, the more accessibility to comics, the better.
So is this, do you know if this is like an app, or is this going to be like through your local library
I
to go
believe
ahead
that
and
it
sign
is
up?
an app. I believe that if you go through Comics Plus,
Mhm.
I believe that it's already a pre-existing free service with a local library card. It's already a pre-existing free service with access to comics, manga, graphic novels, and more. But Image Comics is making that big jump to offer a wide variety of its library onto the app.
I am curious if it will be the way that, like, streaming sites work, and even Comixology works, where, for instance, they may say, okay, for the next like 2 or 3 months, you can read the whole I think of Image, and like, okay, Walking Dead is going to be free to read, but after 3 months, we're going to take it off the service, kind of
I
how
hope not.
streaming. So I do hope that it's like, you know what, Image is going to do their volume 1 of every single thing on there.
Get
Volume
people
1 is going to be
invested.
free. Get people invested, and then you can find the other one at your local library, or you can find the rest of the series at your local comic shop.
Yeah. So, but that's all the comic news that I have this week. But before we jump into our comics reviews, shenanery, I kind of want to make an announcement for us. So, we are getting ready to hit our 2-year anniversary of Casually Comics at the end of the month, which, first of all, it's fucking insane that we've been doing this for 2 years. It feels like we have not been doing it that long, but at the same time, it also feels like we've been doing this for 10 years.
Yeah.
Does it make sense? No. Do I care? Not really.
Time is an illusion.
Time is an illusion.
And a prison
is a prison.
It's a prison illusion.
But that being said, we want to celebrate with everybody. So, as you know, we have our Casually Comics merch store, our Teespring, which is linked below. However, for the entire month of November, we are going to be offering 15% off of all orders. If you order through the Casually Comics store through November 30th, and if you use code CASCOMYEAR2, which I have at the bottom. So it's CASCOMYR2, because listen, they gave me character limits. But if you use that code in our merch store throughout the month of November, you can save 15% off. So buy yourself something nice. The holidays are coming up. Buy your friends something nice. Help support our store, because we love you. And I don't know. We want you to have weird shit that says like "hear me out" and "howdy" and "make comics gay, you cowards."
And hear me out. If I need to give y'all another reason to buy something from the shop, not only is it the anniversary month of like our Casually Comics chat, it's also my birthday month. So like, do it for my birthday.
This is true.
Hear me out.
This is very true. Hashtag hear us out.
One other thing that I did want to talk about a little bit, I really just want to get like your opinion on this, how you see it, maybe even how the chat is feeling about it. But how are we feeling about Twitter, y'all? Like, as someone who uses Twitter, like, I just shitpost anywhere that I just shitpost. That's all I'm going to do. But I do use it to like retweet things, retweet when we're having a show, retweet when other things are going on. And it feels like everybody is tired of Twitter, obviously, because if I'm going to, I don't know, Elon Musk buying Twitter and then just doing all the horrible, insane shit that he's doing, making Twitter even more of a dumpster fire. Like, where are we going? Are people going to Mastodon?
Twitter, we are not going to Mastodon because Mastodon apparently is kind of anti-queer, so I will not be going to Mastodon.
Ugh.
Um,
I'm gonna go
Twitter,
and I'm gonna make it aggressively more queer. I'm gonna make it aggressively diverse as
so
much as a white girl
Scott made
can.
a comment that says Twitter is trash and nothing good comes from it. I have to disagree. So this is going to kind of be my segue that Twitter's kind of a scary place right now for comics because when I think about being a comics journalist, when I think about just being a part of this community in this industry, Twitter gives me direct access to publishers, to creators, to collaborators. Sometimes for good, sometimes for evil. I mean, I don't use it for evil, but I'm saying that the free access that it gives people, sometimes they use it for evil. But we think about Twitter and its relation to comics. There are so many books that I would not even know exist if it was not for Twitter, if it wasn't for the creators or the publishers themselves
Yeah.
directly promoting that work and having it show up on my timeline. Not only that, but like I said, it gives me direct access to publishers. I can talk to publishers directly or people that work within those publishers. I can talk to creators and kind of start to build and form a relationship with them. So that way, when it comes time to me meeting them at, say, a convention, they already know who I am. They can put my name to my face and my crazy personality. And it kind of helps with that networking skill that, again, is so important when it comes to comics, because at the end of the day, a lot of what comics is, yes, it's built upon your talent, but a lot of what comics is it's about who you know, the reach and the access that you have to an audience and things like that. So Twitter is just a very scary place right now for comics, mostly because if we don't have Twitter, it begs the question, where else do we go? You did talk about Mastodon, but we've already established, okay, Mastodon might not be the greatest because it's anti-queer. Okay, a lot of people are saying, let's jump to Tumblr, but is Tumblr really the best place? Sometimes I just want to be able to use my little 200 character limit, make a quick,
Yeah.
nice post so that way it's eye catching, somebody can see it and it's not missable. And with the way Tumblr works, because listen, as somebody who used to be Tumblr famous for no goddamn reason, I know how goddamn chaotic that site can get and how easy it is to have things lost in the feed.
And especially with I think the reason why I never got to Tumblr is because there was this, like, for me, this, like, after high school for me was whenever social media started popping up. So first it was MySpace, and then it was Twitter and Facebook, and then it was Instagram. And maybe during high school there was like LiveJournal and Dead Journal and all of those. But it feels like now you have so many different ways of communicating with people who want to follow you, and now it feels like not necessarily making the content to just have like a small little community where you have I don't know, like a microblog where you have a platform. It feels like I need to create this content, right? Like I need to be a content creator. And that takes a lot of work because it's not like you can just take one photo and publish it on Facebook, publish it on Twitter, publish it on Instagram, publish it on Tumblr. It's like you have to, and then TikTok as well.
You have
Like
to
they're
curate
all
the aesthetic for each
they're
individual platform.
exactly. And like with Twitter, not many people I think have want to
Nobody
monetize Twitter.
nobody goes to Twitter for the aesthetic, okay?
No,
That's
no
what
one
we
goes
go to
to
Instagram for.
exactly. So it's almost like, do I really want to I've already put so much work into getting a following over here, and there is talk that what the algorithm of Twitter may be trying to do is shadow ban certain people where it's not you're not banned fully from using the site, but Twitter just won't show your stuff to even your
Exactly.
followers. And so for people who want to be like, hey, I'm on Twitter right now sending out a tweet, come find me at this other social media network,
And that was the other
they get
thing
banned.
too, is like Twitter was so low maintenance. Like you said, you could easily just post something, boom, it was there. You didn't have to really create a mass following. It was kind of almost like a crapshoot. It was like, okay, make a funny tweet, possibly go viral, gain thousands, if not hundreds of followers, whatever.
Yeah.
Whereas when we look at like Tumblr and Instagram, I have to make sure that this post looks a very particular way. I have to make sure that I post it at a very particular time so that way I can maximize the amount of people that see it. With those, you kind of have to trick the algorithm. Whereas with Twitter, it was
Yeah.
very straightforward. So I don't know. It's going to be a very scary place for the next couple months, if not the next couple of years, figuring it out. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of websites that are maybe created within the ashes of Twitter.
Yeah.
But again, things aren't going to happen overnight. So it's just going to have to be something that we're patient and work through and kind of take it day by day.
Yeah. And hashtag hear me out. I propose that maybe we just go back to some of the oldies but goodies, like Tumblr's one. They now allow like tasteful artistic nudie, so like hashtag tits out for Tumblr. But I also propose let's go back. Like let's take back over MySpace. Let's go back to DeviantArt. Let's go back to fucking Neopets or Gaia Online. Anyone who was there, like
RuneScape. Let's just all go to RuneScape.
Let's have fun with it. And I am not opposed to just burning Twitter to the ground by being there, just like making it a completely unlivable space for the time being. We'll see. I'm still going to be on Twitter. So anyways, so we've got comics to talk about. And per usual, we ask our chat, do you want us to start with indie? Do you want us to start? I'm just going to combine Marvel and DC at this point, but do you want us to combine Marvel and DC? Do you want to talk about Marvel or DC? What's going on?
There was not a lot of Marvel and or DC.
It's funny
because it feels like our Marvel DC piles get smaller and smaller every week as we just realize, hey, I think we kind of hate the big two and we just want to talk about indies all day.
Yeah, I do buy a kind of disgusting amount of
we only buy DC and Marvel covers for the variants anymore. That's what
it's so true. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to show off one that I got this week, of course, because I have to get every fucking Jenny Frison Poison Ivy cover. And then I'm not even reading this series, but for some reason I was like, I really like this cover. I think it's so adorable, but Harley Quinn.
Mm-hmm.
So I did buy that. Total cover buys there. Oh, and this, once again, I'm not even reading it, but I was like, I need to buy this Scarlet Witch Avengers Forever cover.
I think we're talking indies.
Okay, so we both have a lot of favorites. But do we want to start off with favorites, or do we want to start off with ones that we were like, the stinkers? Or do we want to start with a publisher?
Are we starting off violent?
Let's give the people what they wanted. Yeah.
You want to start violent?
I want to start violent.
Okay. There was one book we absolutely hated.
Oh my God. I'm so glad that you said that you didn't, if this is the book that
I could barely finish it.
I could not finish this book, and it's so surprising to me. It's Hell to Pay, right?
Hell to Pay. It is. I was really excited about this because I'm like, okay, it's Charles Soule. Charles Soule right now is killing it with 8 billion genies. And I thought, okay, Hell to Pay, demonic. Are we going like a little curse words type route? Are we just going to fuck around and have fun? This book was so generically bland. And so when a big two book is generically bland, we kind of just like, if a big two book is generically bland versus generically bad, we kind of take that as a good thing because the big two is so hard to get like that masterpiece that sets itself apart from the rest of the crowd.
And I feel like I almost like blame it when that happens with the big two. I'm like, oh, well, maybe it was an editorial choice, or it was a choice that the writer or artist wasn't able to make on their own because they have this hand over them that's like, you have to do this, or you have to do this.
You have to have a splash page by page 4. You have to have your credits by page 2. Okay, we have to have another splash page by page 7. No, you can't have that character there, but you can have them here looking like this. Indie comics, especially Image, are a lot more loose and lax. So I'm going to be honest, and I hate doing this. A lot of Hell to Pay's issue lies in its art because it is very generic big two art that doesn't really have a style to it. When we look at a lot of the other books that we're going to talk about this week, they had unique styles to them. They were very colorful, very engaging, and Hell to Pay just didn't have that.
I feel like I want to bring up this page and panel in particular. Like, I should be loving like this point of view where it's like, ooh, is a big lady about to step on me? But it felt, you're right, it felt generic. It didn't feel, I don't know. could have been any Marvel book to me, which isn't necessarily a bad thing because the art to me isn't bad, but it's generic.
It's generic. It's boring. It's bland. There's nothing about it that stands
This
out.
the shot was pretty cool. Sorry.
And this whole book has to deal with demons and hell and having these coins, and it's supposed to be this like weird Indiana Jones type crossover where these two people work for this college and they have to get all these coins. And on paper, I'm going to be honest, that does not sound very exciting. However, there's
I
this
didn't even get that far into the plot, Mars.
Oh, oops. Well, apparently there's a point in the book that I was like, okay, I'm into this. And it was when we were in hell, we were talking with some demons, and the demons were talking about here's this baby that apparently the mother, this is the baby she wanted to have. She married somebody but wanted to marry somebody else, and this is the baby she could have had. So here in my mind, I'm like, is this a miscarriage baby? Is this an abortion baby? Like, this baby is now a demon spawn. And I'm like, I want more like that. I was like, when we look at things like the idea of hell and Satan and doomed to eternity, there's so much that you can do with that idea. Because at the end of the day, the concept of good and evil, heaven and hell, demons and angels, that is the oldest piece of fiction. I'm going to call it fiction, but that is the oldest piece of fiction that we have on this planet. So there is so much that you can do with that storytelling and those concepts. And we didn't get that because all I got was that little demon baby, miscarriage baby, concept. But then nothing else was ever done with it. And we spend all of our time not in hell, and we're back on the mortal plane dealing with generic, boring humans that have no personality. I can't even tell you their names. And I'm like, Charles Soule can do better,
I agree. This one felt so...
I wanted more.
Yeah.
I wanted more, but they can't all be winners. So if there had to be one stinker from this week and it was hell to pay, that was the sacrifice that we had to make.
I think the lesson here is, how do you really top 8 billion genies?
That is a good question.
Because 8 billion genies, like, I'm here to say, like, I know that Charles Soule is a phenomenal writer. Curse Words was pretty good. I really like 8 billion genies. I know that it can be better, but even a lot of times where these indie books, I'm like, okay, I'll go ahead and try issue 2. I'll try the second issue. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It was rough. I didn't care for it.
One of the other books that I wasn't in love with, and I think you said that you liked this one a lot more than I did, and you really liked the ending, and I feel like I had a really hard time with it, was The Ones. And
which is surprising to me because it's a Brian Michael Bendis book who you like and I'm not really a big fan of.
And this book, I don't know, maybe it's just because it felt very like it deals with this group of people and it's like you're the chosen ones, and like the celebrity status. That's really as far as I got into it. I couldn't get into this book.
The Ones, from my understanding, you kind of got it there. I mean, some of it made sense, but some of it didn't. My idea was that it's basically a bunch of these superheroes were in their respected areas, wherever it is that they may, choose to superhero or superpower, whatever it may be. They are deemed as like the chosen one because there's nobody else in the area that is like that, which to me seems a little weird, especially when we look at the 21st century and the internet and the accessibility. Like, are you telling me that, they just don't know that all of these different people exist? And I like the idea of, having to bring them together because, again, we're going back to the root of Satan. Satan's baby is being born. He's going to be the end-all apocalypse of the world. And these people now have to come together to stop it. And I like that premise because we do have some interesting characters. I like some of the humor that played out in this one. And again, I really, really like the way that this book ended. I won't spoil it, but it could have ended on a very generic route. But that last page and the way it ended, I'm like, okay. You have me invested, and I would like to see where this goes. It kind of almost gives me that like 8 billion genies feel, and the way that we saw 8 billion genies end on issue 2. So if you've read issue 2, you kind of know what I mean there. However, my gripes with this book is in its characters. We have very generic characters for a book about chosen ones and superheroes, quote unquote, spread throughout the world. it's not throughout the world. Every superhero that we're introduced to is from America or Canada or whatever it may be. There's a lot of white passing characters. You have 3 female characters who I could have swore were the same character because they all have red, pink hair. It was kind of insane to me. I feel like if we kind of broke this book down and we were like, okay, let's take different superheroes from different countries. Let's have somebody from Egypt. Let's have somebody from, China or Japan. Let's have a Russian superhero, someone from Mexico, somebody from India. Let's have a diverse group of different people, because to me, that's more believable that these characters are seen as the chosen one, maybe in their country. Because when we think about it, we really do focus only on our own country and our own celebrities and things like that.
Especially the way that the end works. I'm hoping that maybe people from other countries will show up and we'll get a little bit more of like a diverse worldview. Now, I almost like that aspect where not necessarily that the characters felt generic to me, but they definitely felt almost stereotyped a little bit.
They were stereotyped in personality, but again, it's too generic. It's too white.
I agree, but I do think that the genericness adds to the almost like every man could be the chosen person.
And I could see that, but it's still too white. We could still have more diversity in the way that these characters look. Because again, I mentioned there's 3 characters in this book where they're all white women with red hair. And I thought for the longest time that it was the same person. Yeah. And coming from a writer like Brian Michael Bendis, who has created characters of diversity like Riri Williams, Miles Morales. When we look at the big 2, he was kind of almost like a champion for diversity and wanted, books to be more diverse. So that way his kids could look at the book and say, hey, that character looks like me. Mm-hmm. Coming from Brian Michael Bendis, it's a little disappointing because it felt like an afterthought when somebody like him, it should feel like it shouldn't even be a thought. It should just happen.
Yeah. I still like the creative team. I still like this book enough where even though I wasn't blown away by the first issue, I'm still going to get the second one or possibly the trade. Like I'm still going to give some time to this book because I think it'll flesh out much better than Hell to Pay.
Oh, it was way better than Hell to Pay. Like I said, I enjoyed it enough to want to read an issue 2, but that enjoying something doesn't necessarily mean that you can't critique it. Because listen, I'm going to sit here all day, and if I think that there's a problem in your book that needs to be fixed or that could have made it even better, I'm going to be the first person to tell you that you needed to do it better.
Yeah.
Do I have a right to? Probably not. Am I going to do it anyway? Most definitely.
Well, let's maybe I feel like there was one more book that was also in the same vein. Like I'm really excited for this book, but it didn't land for me. And I know that you have some bones to pick with this book as well, and that's Golden Rage.
Oh my god. So Golden Rage.
I still feel like I like this book, but
this was the penultimate issue. Golden Rage, if you haven't been following along, it started off really, really strong. Probably had one of the strongest first issues in all of 2022. And it was about this island of women that were basically shipped, women if they basically outgrew their time on this planet, meaning if they were old, if they hit menopause, if they weren't basically seen as members of society, baby makers, you name it, they were shipped off to this island and forced to fight it out for themselves. And it started off really, really strong because this was a concept we hadn't seen before.
Or we had seen it, but it wasn't featuring like this type of cast. Like
women.
We only see like a teenage point of view, but it was really cool to be like, okay, I do want to know what like tea sipping, like crocheting, knitting grannies would be doing.
Yeah, and how they feel knowing that they've put in years of their life raising children, keeping a home for their husbands. It was
building
kind of
society,
like building
to be discarded from it.
Exactly. And it was kind of like this, older generation Handmaid's Tale-esque kind of inspired story, without the rebellion, but it was women trying to figure out how to team up amongst themselves. And I felt like this could have opened a lot of conversation pieces because our main character in this book is a younger woman who just happens to be on this island because she hit menopause. in an early stage of her life. So I'm like, okay, that's interesting. But then it's like, well, what about trans women? Like, could trans women end up on this island because they also can't carry and they can't conceive? And in issue 4, which again is the penultimate issue, we're given this discussion of children and the importance of having to raise children. You have some of these women talking about how raising children was the most important part of their lives. You have other women who very much are like me, where it's like, children are disgusting. I never want to have them. The thought never even crossed my mind. And then you have other women that are like, yeah, I did my duty, but A, I regretted it, and B, I hated it the whole time. So it kind of upsets me that, you know, we're having this conversation about women, but we're leaving out a large category of women, and that's trans women.
Yeah.
And it kind of just
felt like
upsets
man
me.
eaters. I mean,
It
granted,
did.
like man eaters had a completely different conversation about the value of trans women, but
It's like, women is such a huge, the idea of women and the term woman, there's so many different definitions to it. And when we're looking at, you know, because this is, I would deem almost like a political book, when we have a book with political agendas in it, you know, and real life conversations, it kind of turned into this dumbed down adventure of, let's get from one end to the island to let's get off of it, because spoiler alert, that's how issue 4 ends, is they finally find a way off of the island. Well, that's fine and dandy. What are you going to do once you're off the island? Because newsflash, you get off that island and they know that you're off the island. What's going to stop them from putting you back on the island?
they already sent you away. They obviously, like, society has already shown, like, they don't care about you.
You know.
So I would almost, like, to me, maybe this will happen to the characters anyways. Maybe this will be in the next issue because it's the last one. But, like, to me, I'd rather write a story where, like, these women are like, fuck society. Let's make our own better society here.
Exactly.
And when these women do come to the island, like, let's make it a safe place for them. I think that women in general would have that ability to think that way, but you know,
we just didn't see it. I feel like Golden Rage has outgrown this island. You know, if you wanted to get off the island, you needed to do it a couple of issues ago, or maybe you needed to plan multiple arcs. As far as I know, it is only one arc. But, you know, I personally would have liked to see what life is like off the island. What does this new society look like where there is only younger women? Or if you can't have children, or maybe, you know, seeing propaganda of the importance of having children and being a homemaker or whatnot.
A little bit more influenced by Bitch Planet, I would have appreciated, because I feel like that's what Bitch
from
Planet
Bitch Planet, from SFSX, from, you know, we could even throw Not All Robots into that kind of like capitalist society and the commentary on that. This book just, it needed to do more, and I feel like it kind of, it came out of the gate blazing on its first issue and then didn't really know what to do with itself. It knew the type of conversation it wanted to have, but unfortunately it doesn't feel like the creative team did the research into being able to have these conversations, which is a shame because there's some really great post-content material in the back of each issue.
Yeah. I'm already on issue 4. I'm going to get the next issue. Will this book be better, like, read as a trade? Who knows? But I'm still gonna. I'm in it.
There's one issue left. I don't hate it enough where I'm like, nope, I'm done. I'm gonna see it through to the end, but I'm gonna be disappointed with it.
Yeah. Well, there were lots of other indie books that I know that I really liked. One that I have to say that I love the artwork of this book so much, but I do not like it. This one's for you, John, and it's Night of the Ghoul by Scott Snyder and Francesco Francavilla. Love the artwork, hate the story. Way too much talking. Which is
a shame because Night of the Living Ghoul, I missed the first issue, but Night of the Living Ghoul is another one of those Comixology originals turned IDW imprint. And considering that we've already seen that with Scott Snyder on Dark Spaces Wildfire, which I'm going to be honest with you, is one of my favorite books of 2022. The fact that, you know, he couldn't do the same with this one, which kind of seems like a perfect pairing, horror and Francisco Francavilla, and giving us those missing, you know, Archie, Afterlife with Archie feelings. Like that's all I see when I look at that book. I'm like, oh, it's another Afterlife with Archie. No, it's just Scott Snyder.
Like, is this the reason why Afterlife with Archie hasn't come back? Is because Francesco Francavilla is too busy doing variant covers and Night of the Ghoul?
Absolutely not, because that man has been begging for that series to come back, and it is Roberto who is being the asshat in that situation. Roberto.
One of the books that I really like, I don't think that you got a chance to read this one, and that is The Purple Oblivion by Behemoth / Sumerian.
I still won't ever. They're going to be behemoths to me for the end of time.
Yeah. This book I really enjoyed. It's about this like drug that's on the market, and it makes you go into a kind of like it does what drugs do. But I think what makes me really like this is the kind of like drug pusher, drug dealer. I really like her character. It's kind of a hard one to swallow almost, but I really, really, really enjoyed The Purple Oblivion. And like, I put this one down and I'm like, I cannot wait for issue 2.
Which is weird because Behemoth / Sumerian has been very hit and very miss. Because remember, these are the same people that published You Promised Me Darkness. So just remember when you say this.
There was an ad for You Promised Me Darkness in the back of it.
We are never, ever going to be able to escape that book. Ever.
No. So I really enjoyed it. E. Pliskin and Diego Simone is the creative team here, and really, really enjoying this. I also, I wish that Behemoth / Sumerian did do like full like pages. They've got a weird kind of gap there. They're not full size, but anyways, that's like my one gripe. But alrighty, I've got 4 indie issues left.
I have 3 indie issues left. Yes.
What are some of the ones you liked or didn't like?
So my favorite book of the week, we're just gonna go out and talk about it. If you've been on my Twitter, you already know that this is my favorite book of the week. Mad Cave Studios recently released Nature's Labyrinth, which is another Zach Thompson title, which one of your favorite guys who did I Breathe the Body and Lonely Receiver.
One of my favorite thems.
Thems? One of your favorite thems. I'm an awful person.
No, that's okay.
So this is Nature's Labyrinth. And listen, when I tell you, okay, let's premise. 2020, I discovered a little book / movie / manga called Battle Royale. It was my favorite thing in the entire world. I still think about it consistently to this day. Unfortunately, that book is out of print. It is impossible to find / read. And I had a little Battle Royale void in my heart that needed to be filled. And this does it. This literally fills that Battle Royale void. And it is so good. It's a group of strangers that are basically placed on an island. And they are told that they need to get to the end of this labyrinth. If they get to the end of this labyrinth, they will win. It's like $25 million. And, if multiple people make it, then they'll split it. Otherwise, if it's just one person, then that one person will get it.
So like that, Battle Royale, I mean, Squid Games, which is all really just a different way of doing Battle Royale. But I think what makes this one so intriguing is that we get the plot. Like, even if you haven't read Battle Royale, you know what we're talking about, but it's the little bit of differences, and I think the characters, because there's obviously
that's the thing, and I think that's what I love about Battle Royales is such an easy concept to produce, but at the same time it's a very hard concept to produce because there are so many variations that you can do with Battle Royale. First of all, let's look at the type of Battle Royale. Throwing them into this arena, maybe some of the environmental effects, some of the just violence that can happen. There's so many different things you can do with that. And then we look at it at a second layer where we look at the motivation of why we're doing this. And then we look at the third layer, which is our characters. And if I'm being quite honest with you, I could probably make more and more layers as we discuss the importance of Battle Royales to media.
10 minutes later. There's a fourth layer.
There's a fourth layer. But this comic honestly hits all of those different layers. You've got, you get to the end, you get money, but you know, you would have to split it. So we know as a reader, and we know that that idea in our mind of, okay, there's definitely going to be some greedy fuckers out there that are going to be betraying some people. So now I've got that lurking in the back of my mind of, okay, do not trust anyone. Then we've got this labyrinth, which is huge and intimidating, and we don't know what lurks inside of it. On top of that, we're given the motivation of play, which is, you know, some places it's like there's a bomb in your neck, or
Yeah.
you'll just step on a landmine and you'll die. This is, they literally have this skeletal device on their back
That like helps
that
them like
rips them apart if
Yeah.
they decide not to play or if they go out of bounds. And there's like moments of body horror that are just extreme, but at the same time just keep you wanting to see more. And
Yeah.
I love Battle Royale. Squid Game was my favorite thing to come out of 2021. Battle Royale is my favorite thing to come out of 2020. Nature's Labyrinth is helping to kind of carry that torch into 2022. And I'm going to be honest, I know it's only issue 1, but it's my favorite thing that Mad Cave has published so far.
I agree. I'm really glad that we're getting to see Mad Cave again. Like, I finished this book and I'm like, there it is. There's Mad Cave. Like books like, I know you love Stargazer, Terminal Punks, Dryfoot. Oh my God, there's so many. Last Session.
You know, but here's the thing that I really like is Mad Cave. We saw this a couple weeks ago with A Legacy of Violence. I feel like they're kind of starting to take that shift into more violent books. You know, a lot of the books that we've seen previously are very all ages friendly, you know, very colorful, very bright, very lighthearted. And then we're going to throw in a book like Nature's Labyrinth where it's like, all right, you can go die now.
Yeah.
So
this book could easily be discovered by a child where it's like, oh, this one looks pretty. Nature's Labyrinth. Oh, there's like a nice serene cover. I don't know, that looks so nice and peaceful. And then you get to a page where some violent things happen. And I'm very excited to see the next issues.
I'm very excited. Yeah. I think my biggest regret is I have a press release from Mad Cave for this book that came in about 2 months ago. And I looked at it and I was like, oh, this is interesting. And I never got around to actually reading the PDF. If I had read that PDF, I would have been shouting about this book from the moment I read it, because that was me on Tuesday or Wednesday when I read it, as I've been shouting about this book. So Jen's opinion is different, but I say if there's one book you have to read this week, make it Nature's Labyrinth.
I do agree. I do like Nature's Labyrinth, and you can have more than one. You should have more than one. If you're going to the comic shop and you're only getting one book, something's wrong. Obviously,
listen, you don't know everybody's financial situations. That's why I'm saying if you have one, make it be Nature's Labyrinth. But if you have two, make it be Jen's favorite book, which I guess that's a nice little segue. We'll talk about that next.
Behold Behemoth was the first book that I read this week. And not necessarily that all the other books like stunk, because I obviously really liked some of these other ones, but Behold Behemoth was just so good. It like scratched the itch of this like horror for me. And I think because Tate Bromble did the writing of it, he doesn't do the artwork like he did on
and Tate Bromble was previously on books like Barbalian, The Red Planet, and more recently on House of Slaughter.
This really did remind me of House Slaughter, but basically what happens is the main character, I'm trying to remember what his name is, but his like brother dies, and he's taking drugs, like maybe antidepressants or like antipsychotics, and I don't necessarily want to spoil this, but he is like kind of, this book does do a lot of very jarring time skips or dimension skips.
There's a lot of times where things will happen and then our main character will black out and you know, recover in a bathtub, and it's kind of this, and you're kind of alongside him with this of, did that really happen, or is it just in my head kind of feeling?
Definitely that like unreliable narrator, which I enjoy it when it's done well. This book was I don't want to give away like too much, and not necessarily that there's too much to give away, but this book is just, it's a mind fuck, and I really, really enjoyed
Alternate
Behold Behemoth.
dimensions. The artwork, first of all, is incredible. The artwork
Yeah,
in this
Nick
book
Robles.
is beautiful, and it really helps sets that tone. And I feel like this is kind of what we talk about when we say you need a dynamic artist to help carry your book, because this could have easily dumbed down to a very generic looking book. And a very generic feeling book had the artwork been that generic big two style storytelling, which is the problem that we got with, How to Pay. But with Behold Behemoth, I was kind of like sucked in right at that first couple pages. I was into it. But then it felt like there was a point in the book where, at least for me personally, I was kind of like, okay, this book shut off the gate way too far. I'm not really loving this. Also, John, I see you. Thank you. But this book, it kind of started to stagnate for me in the middle, and it was kind of like muddied down, and I was kind of bored by it.
I do agree with that.
But then we get to that ending, and I know you say you don't want to spoil it, but like those last like 3 pages where we kind of step into this other dimension, we're also fed with, this book is going to give you the father and his surrogate daughter trope, which, if we all know me, it is my favorite trope to exist in media ever. I'm looking at you, Last of Us. I'm looking at you, Stranger Things. I'm looking at you, fucking the Wolverine or Logan, whatever the fuck we want to call it. I don't know. That same trope. Listen, that is my trope. You give a grizzled old man a fucking weirdo child daughter.
It's really, I think, here's the thing, is that I think that it's because it's an extension of the found family trope, which is like in the hierarchy, I love a lot.
As somebody who was adopted by kind of a grizzled old man, and I am that feral weirdo daughter, there's a reason why I connect with this trope, and it's my favorite. But like those last couple pages, the ones I was kind of like, okay, this is kind of neat. Behold Behemoth, those last 2 pages, I was like, fuck, I'm in for this ride, ain't I?
Yep. Fantastic storytelling. I cannot wait to get, it creeped me out so much, and I cannot wait to get to more of this.
I don't want to say it.
Book of the year?
No, it's not Book of the Year. I don't want to say it because I hate being these people. Is this Boom's next Something is Killing the Children? Could it hit that point?
I think it could be.
I feel like
I disagree. I think it's going to be Boom's next Once and Future. And the reason why is because Something is Killing the Children and Once and Future came out like the same week, same month. And one obviously became really, really popular. One didn't. And I think that there will be other books that overshadow this one. And this one deserves a lot. So I'm here.
I don't know. Maybe we're not in the same circle, because I saw a lot of people talking about this one. This was one of those books where
not in the same circle.
Well, this was one of those books where, I start off my week with going through all of the new weekly releases and making a list of all the titles that I'm going to read. Obviously, I put a heavy focus on number ones. Looking at, the title, the cover art, I kind of like moved it to the bottom because I'm like, okay, this looks kind of boring to me. I kind of put it next to How to Pay. But then on Twitter, I saw people talking about this book, and they kept talking about it and talking about how good it was. And this was like the 3rd or 4th thing that I read next to some other stuff that my brain just wanted. And I'm glad that it was up there, because, it kind of set my tone for the rest of the week in terms of, how we need to look at storytelling. I didn't obviously do what you did, where it feels like you kind of shot yourself at the foot.
I did.
And prepared yourself for disappointment, but it was a surprising book for me. I will say that was my biggest surprise of the week. Nature's Labyrinth was my favorite of the week.
Solid, like 2. If you have 2 books to read those 2. I've got 2 other indies. I don't think that you read Heart Eyes number 3.
Listen, you texted me last month and was like, Heart Eyes number 2 was way better. I still felt really burned by that first issue, and I was going to read Heart Eyes number 2, but I was like,
That's fair. Issue 2 did get much better. I feel like issue number 3 does give us more insight into what is it, Lupe, Lupa, her journey a little bit more, where she is in this like post-apocalyptic wasteland. So we do see more of that. We see some other people that she meets along the way. In the first book, we're introduced to just like one person that's basically like, I love her so much. She's so cute. Oh my goodness, it's a girl in the apocalypse. And then in the second issue, it's a lot more of her backstory, which I loved. In this one, it's like, why does that backstory matter to what's happening to the people around her now? It is a little bit creepy because there's a guy who is like watching her on like who's maybe hacking into like street cameras, surveillance cameras, and is like trying to find her. So he's like cyber stalking her in this like post-apocalyptic wasteland. It's weird. But I really did enjoy issue 3. There's probably 2 more issues. I really liked it. But there's one last one. You and I both read this one. It's the last one of the series.
And I'm sad.
I'm
the big sad.
This one is definitely on top for one of maybe my top 10 books of the year.
Top 5.
Yeah.
Top 5. And that is Survival Street, which was published by Dark Horse. This book, how the fuck do we go about this book? This book is insane. Essentially it is Puppets, Muppets, Sesame Street. It's the Sesame Street gang. It's knockoff versions of the Sesame Street gang. That basically start a rebellion and are freedom fighters.
Public funding has been cut.
Capitalism is running rampant. The right is running rampant. And listen, any book that fucking says the word a cob in it immediately gets bumped to one of the books of the year, because hearing a Muppet Puppet Sesame Street man say the words a cob, a cab, a cob, whatever, you got me. I'm in a box. I love how like unwarranted this book is. Like, this book does not care. You want the literal definition of take no prisoners. It's Survival Street. They're not afraid to call out capitalism. They're not afraid to call out corporate greed. The villain of this book is the Nestle Corporation, because they're hoarding water and they're funding all of this bad shit, which, all right, let's look at real life. That's kind of the same story, y'all. Nobody's looking at it, but that's kind of the same story. Not only that, but I kind of wanted to mention this with Hell to Pay. How is it that there are multiple books this week that mention Elon Musk by name? Because Survival Street did it, Hell to Pay did it. I believe there was another book that did it, and I just missed on it. There are multiple books this week that talk about Elon Musk, and I think that is really fucking ironic.
Yes. This book, like you said, it just really digs into not only has like capitalism and the tools of capitalism have ruined so much of our society and the way that we interact with one another, we are literally creating our own hellscape around us because capitalism has demanded it of us, has brainwashed it into us. And this book, I think, this particular issue takes an aim at media and how like media controls the narrative and like controls who we think is the bad guy. So ultimately what it does is it takes one of the Muppets who has fallen on a hard time, and instead of saying like, oh, let's get you better, let's make sure that you
get the help that you need,
we're going to
exploit that fact.
It says, let's go ahead and use your voice to promote our narrative, even if it's at the expense of your well-being, the well-being of your people. And Jesus Christ, this book is so good. I know I just said it with what was I talking about? What was the other book? I don't know. This one's definitely we did just say that, books of the year. It's
one of the books 10, of the year
top 5.
Because it was the most surprising. You get a book like Survival Street, on your list of books to read, and you see that it's a bunch of Muppets, and you're like, okay, weird flex, but all right, I guess I'll read it. And then you sit there and you can't stop thinking about it. And you're like, I can't believe that they actually published that
Yeah.
because they were that unapologetic and they didn't care. And it's just, I'm going to be honest, I'm surprised that there's not more people talking about this book
Yeah.
in both a positive light and a negative light, because I'm actually surprised that big networks like Fox News and whatnot aren't like coming to rip this book to shreds.
Oh my
I think
God. They're watching our
maybe
show right now and
I
they're
think
about to.
I think maybe they realize that this book is truthful about them and they really can't say anything, so they're just going to kind of let it slide.
Here's the thing is that I don't think that they could actually do that, because then they would actually have to read the book, where whenever they complain about like She-Hulk and all of those things, they don't actually have to read the book. They just have to hear they have to see a headline that's basically like, Superman's gay now. What? That's forced
And
diversity.
it's not
Where
very
they
obvious by the cover either, you know.
Exactly. And they have to use, in order to like actually be able to complain about this book, they have to use critical thinking skills to actually read it, which we know that they'll never do. If they can go ahead and start punching down on creators, and that, I don't know.
I have one problem with this book.
Oh God.
My problem with this book is that it's only 4 issues. I could
Yeah.
easily read another set of stories from this book. Just give me more resistance fighters, more characters, more introductions.
Yeah.
Survival Street was just solid. It builds this huge world that almost feels endless. And, you know, the ending is kind of, you know, it's not your necessary like
Bittersweet.
we've saved the day, we've saved the day, we've won, we fought back up against capitalism. It's more along the lines of capitalism will always win, but this is how we can cope and how we can fight back.
Yeah. We're stronger together, and that's how we're going to
meet me at the end of the street.
Meet me at the end of the street. Like, seriously, this book, because the character that ends up like going through a hard time and she gets used by the media corporation to sell their narrative, like she ends up getting her own voice. Like, you read a note that she wrote, and I believe that she's the narrator who actually says the "see you at the end of the street." Is that B? Anyways, like, I was crying. This book about
It's such a good book.
Muppets fighting capitalism, calling out fascism, 100% had me in tears. This is the book that broke my
And
heart.
it doesn't
this
help that we were, you know, that generation that was, you know, we grew up with Sesame Street. I
Yeah.
don't know about you, but I grew up with Sesame Street.
TV raised
so,
me. Every
you know.
every form of TV and media raised me. So for sure.
Good book.
Well, that is all of the indies that I have. We have. You have any more?
No more.
Okay, so now it's on to DC and Marvel. Like I
There
showed
was-
earlier,
There is one theme with DC and Marvel this week, and it really pissed me off. The theme with DC and Marvel, I'm just gonna come out and say it because there's multiple books that I'm gonna bring it to light with, is the inconsistent publishing schedule with a lot of these books.
Jesus.
Some of these books, it was like the last issue was in June, the last issue was in September.
And it's not just part of a
It's not
like
just part
an
of a
arc break or anything.
not
So
just
it's not
part of
like
an arc
issue 5
break.
came out, issue 6 it was, yeah.
You know, and here's the thing. That I'm totally okay with that when it comes to indie publishers because they're smaller. You know, these are creators that are more so working on their individual stories. Sometimes there's
on their own
press,
dime.
Sometimes there's like funding issues, shipping issues, publishing issues, you name it. When we look at the big two, which are these huge capitalistic bastards, and you literally have all the power when it comes to comics, there's really not an excuse because I'm going to tell you right now, you'll never see a Batman book running late. You'll never see a Batman book with an inconsistent publishing schedule. No, it's all of these smaller characters that have inconsistent publishing.
Doomsday Clock, even though that wasn't necessarily like a
but
Batman
here's the
title.
Thing. Doomsday Clock had an inconsistent publishing schedule because Jeff Johns is a bastard. And
I'm just going to blame it on Jeff Johns.
Jeff Johns had a bunch of legal problems at that time. So that's why Doomsday Clock was not published the way that it was supposed to, because he had all these allegations coming out against him. They were trying to be a little bit of hush-hush about it. They didn't want to like bring him to light. So they just kept delaying Doomsday Clock. But, you know, some of the books we're going to talk about, a lot of these, I feel like the book was already done. So why not just publish it? What is the reason?
Yeah.
Cardi B voice. What is the reason? Just saying. So let's talk about some stuff. Let's talk about some books. I think there's one book that we should save for last.
Because it was the best one.
It was the best one.
Are we saving the best
I don't know about... Sure, yeah, it was the best one, I guess.
You tell me what direction you want to go in.
I don't know. Whatever you want. Well, I think, are we splitting it up by We'll split it up by publisher. So if we're doing that, we need to talk about Marvel last. We'll talk about DC first. So what DC books did you read?
I only have 2.
I have
Dark Knights of Steel.
How do you only have 2?
I only have 2.
I have 3. They should be the same 3. What are you doing? What book did you slack on this week?
I don't know. You tell me. So anyways, Dark Knights of Steel. I feel like we knew that there was going to be a break in this one. And this
was too long of a break, though. The last issue came out in June.
But I think we knew that there was going to be that big of a break. At least that's what it felt like for me.
Tom Taylor. Let's talk. Why? What was the reason?
It may not be Tom Taylor. It may be DC. It could be Putri.
This book got a pass because of 2 things that it gave me that were very particular. And
oh my God.
Very Mars. Maybe 3 things, because if you're lumping the 2 things separately, I'm lumping them together. All right, so let's talk. All right, here we go. We're gonna come out right off the gate.
This was the page meant for Mars.
When Dark Knights
wrote this for
Mars.
No,
there was another page that was tailored for Mars too. So when Tom Taylor announced Dark Knights of Steel, one of the big things he talked about was the importance of Green Arrow and Black Canary in this universe. We're on issue 8. And there was no Green Arrow. There was no Black Canary. There was like a little glimpse of one of them in the back. And that was it. So I'm like, all right, Tom Taylor, you're lying to me. But I love you so much that I'm going to let it slide. But I need more Green Arrow, Black Canary, because hear me out. All right, let's kind of go back. Tom Taylor is responsible for writing the Injustice Gods Among Us comics, which are a spin-off title from a fucking video game of all things. And I feel like that is the book that launched Tom Taylor's career. If you have not read the Injustice comics, please do, because they're some of the best comics that DC has published. They're absolutely bonkers, absolutely insane. It proves that Tom Taylor can write literally every character in the DC universe. But one of the big things in those books is the relationship between Green Arrow and Black Canary. And I'm sorry, I've said this a million times, give Tom Taylor a Green Arrow and Black Canary book, because he knows their voices perfectly. So finally getting them again together, it's like that rush comes back. I've got those Injustice feelings where I'm like, okay, you're going to give me some romance, but you're also going to hurt me, and that's fine. And I just really like it. But this book is great because, again, I just love how he takes these characters, the ways that he places them, the things that he does with them, the creativeness that he gets with this universe. Because my other favorite part of this book is, we've established that Amanda Waller is the general of the Kal-El army, which, okay, perfect spot for her. Love that. There's a part in this book where she's up on the battle parts and she's, commanding these archers to, get ready to launch.
To fire. Mm-hmm.
And we see Deadshot as her lead archer. And I'm sorry, I'm a big Deadshot fan. I love Suicide Squad. I love the Secret Six. So having just a little Deadshot as the lead archer, I'm like, damn. That's a little, first of all, it's a treat. Second of all, that's smart. Third of all, I would like more, please. I like Dark Knights of Steel. I know that there's some people that aren't a big fan of it. Me, personally, it feels like Injustice Part 2, where I get this little Tom Taylor universe where he can do whatever he wants, and it's really fun. I would like 40 more pages, 40 more issues, 10 more spin-offs. Like, give Dark Knights of Steel the Injustice treatment. We got Injustice Year 1, Year 2, Year 3, Year 4, Year 5, Injustice 2, Injustice 0 year, or whatever the hell it was, Underground War, I don't know. Give me that with Dark Knights of Steel, and I will be a very happy child.
I think, we're getting a little bit of it because there's been a couple of one-shots, right? That's like,
this is a story. The one-shot that was like an oversized Tales of the Kingdom. Mm-hmm. It gave us some really cute stories, some really nice backstories to characters that have previously been introduced and some other characters that haven't been introduced. But I want more. I need more.
Yeah.
Just let Tom Taylor write everything in the DC universe and I'll be happy.
I agree. So it's a pretty snazzy book. What else you got?
I'm really confused at what book you have that I don't, or that I have that you don't. So what book do you have?
Poison Ivy.
Okay, well then you missed the really, really good one, but that's fine.
Did you read Poison Ivy?
I did read Poison Ivy.
Then what do you mean I missed the really, really good one? This was the really, really good
New
one.
Champion of Shazam #3 came out.
Oh, I feel like I fell off on issue 2 of that one.
Well, here's why you fell off at issue
Okay.
2. So let me go on to Champion of Shazam real quick.
Okay.
The reason why you fell off is because, again, there was another month publishing gap between issue 2 and issue 3. Last
And
issue
I
we got
want to
was in
point this
September.
out. I want to point this out. Scott has a good point. It's that there could be a lot to do with printing issues, and that's why there's issues getting stuff published. I do agree there. It could be some editorial things, it could be creative team things, but a lot of it points to printing issues, which is like an industry thing.
But here's my thing, and I think the reason why I got so upset about it is because let's look at a book like Champion of Shazam, which right now is a sleeper hit at fucking DC.
Issue 1
not
was
only
really,
that,
really good.
Not only that, but you have this really great self-contained story that I feel like if we wanted to, I'm not saying it should, because I kind of like that it's a nice little 4-issue miniseries. This could easily become an ongoing or even a extended mini or maxi series that I feel like is a breath of fresh air at DC Comics. It feels like with DC, all these books are starting to feel the same. We're starting to go back to that point in time pre-Future State where there was no female-led titles. All of the books looked the same. All of the voices felt the same. But then you have books like New Champion of Shazam, which was a book that I wasn't even really going to touch until I was like, okay, it's in issue 1. Let me give it a shot. It's probably one of my favorite DC books of this year. It's really good. It's really solid. I think it's a book that is available for people of multiple age ranges. It's very all ages, very easy access. You don't have to know anything about the character. It lays everything you need to know right out in front of you. And personally, I think all the way through these 3 issues, it has been really, really solid. It's grabbed my attention. It's kept me engaged. And personally, I'm going to be really sad when it ends.
Yeah, it's like a 5 or 6.
And I think that's why I get a little upset when I talk about these publishing delays, because, I look at this book as a book for casual readers. And if somebody who's a casual reader who, might know in their head, okay, a book is supposed to come out every month, and maybe that's the only reason they go to the comic book shop is to pick up this one particular issue. If they go to the shop, that 3rd month and it's not there, they might not think to go back or think to ask somebody.
They may think I missed it.
That audience, and it makes me sad because, again, I feel like I'm seeing a pattern where it's only happening to these smaller female focused books, maybe all ages focused books, but it's not happening to the big boys like Batman and Superman and, we'll throw Wonder Woman in there. It's not happening to the heavy hitters.
I feel like it is happening to some of the heavy hitters and not necessarily heavy hitters, but Aquaman and Andromeda. And I don't know if it's different with some of the Black Label books, because those ones we know that DC's Black Label has had, almost every single title printed by them has been delayed. Like Aquaman and Andromeda, and Swamp Thing Green Hell, even though I wasn't a big fan of that one. But you're right. I do think that for some of the casual readers who maybe want to go to the shop, pick it up every month, maybe that's their intro into getting these books, may see some delays. But I think that New Champion of Shazam, from what I remember of the first issue, you're right, it's a really good point for that in between readers. And I think what a lot of shops and people are saying is that there's this really big gap in between adult books that you would give to someone who's maybe in their mid to late teens versus children's books. And I think that DC hasn't found where that is, where I would say that New Champion of Shazam, maybe even Supergirl, what was it, Hero of Tomorrow, Woman of Tomorrow. So I do think that those titles are going to be really, really good for that in between reader. Maybe not Supergirl from this past year because it was pretty heavy, but New Champion of Shazam.
And that's definitely my thing too, is I understand that delays happen. I'm not trying to undervalue an artist. I'm not trying to undervalue editorial. I'm not trying to undervalue these publishers. I have an answer for that. But here's my thing. Transparency is key. A lot of these times with these delays, we're not even told that there's going to be a delay between issue 3 and 4. There was never once a mention that, Champion of Shazam was going to have a gap between issue 3 and 4. The only book that I can think of that we've seen the transparency of a gap is Catwoman Lonely City. And with that came directly from Cliff Chang. That didn't even come from the publisher or the editorial team itself. It came from the creator. And now again with Wonder Woman Historia, that is, I feel like, the one book where they've been transparent about, and I think a lot of that is because of the time it takes into that. So issue 1 came out last November, issue 2 came out in March, and it's my understanding that issue 3 is supposed to come out early 2023, which is rough when it takes a whole year, over a year, for a single 3-issue book to come out. It's like, why can't we kind of work on these books maybe at the same time?
In my
have
opinion,
them done ahead of time so that way they're ready to go when it's time for you to release them.
In my opinion, books like in my opinion, I don't want to say that there's no reason, because there's a ton of reasons, but there's not very many good reasons why a book like that is done by one writer and multiple artists. Each issue has been done by a different artist. So there's no reason why, unless they're an artist using a pseudonym and it's actually the same person drawing the same issue, there's no reason why Phil Jimenez and Nicholas Scott did the second one.
No, Phil Jimenez did the first one. Gene Ha did the second one. And the third one is being done by Nicola Scott.
So in my opinion, there is no reason why those 3 artists cannot be, unless they're all using the same studio space and they're like, get out of my space. Today's my day. That's how they talk. But to me, there's no reason why they can't be working on these books simultaneously. And one of the, I think, industry standards, from what I understand, a lot of publishers will not put a solicitation in Diamond until 3 issues are completed, for this very freaking reason, is so that your first 3 issues of the book can come out on a consistent scheduling date. And other than printing issues, which is a known issue, to me, there should be no reason why those books cannot be done.
And at the end of the day, one of the other reasons why we need to be transparent about these delays is because let's think about our comic shops. We've spent a lot of time talking about our artists, our creators, our publishers, and kind of giving them, benefit of the doubt, if that's the word that I can use.
Yeah.
Well, let's look at comic book shops. Let's look at comic book shops and the importance of pre-ordering. You can't pre-order a book if there's going to be delays. You can't expect people to want to keep those pre-orders open if there's delays, or if, let's look at Wonder Woman Historia. If there's no set in stone publishing date, you're going to have a lot of dropped readership. You're going to have a lot of people maybe complaining, well, the book came out. Well, why don't I have it? Well, you dropped your pre-order, or you never even pre-ordered it. Well, I didn't know that it was coming out because there was no set release from the publisher, no kind of news about it. I wasn't informed. So I feel like this is kind of one of those decisive conversations that we're going to have, and that's okay. These are the type of conversations that we need to have in comic books. Also, I will believe that when I see it, because I have seen November, I have seen October, and we haven't had anything. So when I have Wonder Woman Historia issue 3 in my hands, that's when it releases. But yeah, it's just going to be one of those conversations that we're going to continue to have, holding publishers accountable versus, maybe realizing that this might be just an industry standard and we should be okay with it.
I think that it takes a lot of work on the end of comic book shops. Like it puts more work into their hand for ultimately less, because a book that comes out that has an inconsistent scheduling, an inconsistent release schedule, it's hard for shops to be able to explain that. They have, shipping issues, like, oh, well, Diamond's late this week. Well, I'm just going to go to the other shop in town that did get their books, or maybe So this just does create more work for shops, who then have to remind readers, hey, remember how you got issues 1 and 2, 6-7 months ago? Well, issue 3 came out. Well, by then a reader may be like, well, I moved on. I forgot about that book. So,
and sometimes there's just those books that never continue, we have Giga number 5, which came out last year, 2 years ago, and I thought that series ended, and I recently just
Yeah.
found out that. And then there was the picture of everything else, which also came from Volt. But again, these are two books that Volt has been very transparent about with the shipping issues. They've been very honest. You see some people ask, hey, when is this book going to release? They will flat out say it. They may post multiple times, maybe throughout the month. Hey, we understand, we appreciate you hanging on, thank you so much for that. But like, let's look at a book like Isola from Image Comics, which is one of my favorite books of all time. We saw book 1 and book 2 release. There was supposed to be a planned 5 arc 5 arcs, and we've only gotten 2. That book at this point I have condemned will forever remain unfinished.
Yep.
Same with We Can Never Go Home from Matthew Rosenberg and Joshua Hood. In the back of that book, We Can Never Go Home, volume 2, coming in, I think it says 2017. And I'm like, well, buddy, it is now 2022. What do we got going on here? Are we ever going to get that book? So I feel like the only reason why I am this harsh is because I don't want to. I have an abandonment fear. I have a fear of abandonment. Okay, y'all. I don't want to be abandoned by a book that I really, really like and I really, really enjoy. And in the case of a book like New Champion of Shazam, a book that I am taking a chance on, that I never expected to love, but ended up loving, I don't want to be burned by it. So that was our 20-minute rant on delays in publishing schedules and consistency. And that's why it's called Casually Comics, friends.
We don't choose the violence chooses us. Well, the book that I really, really, really liked from DC, of course, it was Poison Ivy, issue number 6. This is the end of the first arc. Ivy has gone on her rampage of distributing the Lamia spores, which are going to overcome
good for her moment.
Another good for her moment. And I just really love that everything that she does goes back to Harley, and that
and her love for Harley, and
how she's in this moment where she's like, I don't think I can go on. The least I can do is just kind of like, I don't know, accept my fate, really, and like look at everything that she's done,
and also to accept my love for you. But like this book is another one of those, I feel like, not necessarily sleeper hits, because everybody was excited. Everybody gets excited when a Poison Ivy book comes out or a Harley Quinn book comes out. These are just characters that people love from DC Comics. But to have a book for this character be as consistent as it was and be as unexpected as it was, I mean, we got this really great story of revenge and good for her, while also being really, really queer and really, really emotional and sentimental, while also throwing in body horror and images of body horror and moments of that. And it was just really, really solid. And it makes me excited, but also nervous, because it's like, we said that this was the end of the first arc. What more can we do with this character? Can we continue to tell a story as consistent as that first arc? Or is it going to be a case of, all right, you got to read Poison Ivy Volume 1. If you really, really, really like the character, okay, let's read Volume 2. Otherwise, just stop at Volume 1. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see where this goes for this character.
Agreed. Okay, what do you have for Marvel?
What do we have for Marvel? Well, another shipping delay.
I've got 3 books.
With I have 2. I have She-Hulk number 7, which I have a lot of feelings about. So first of all, again, it's been a month since this book came out, and this is a book that has been wildly inconsistent. There was like a 3-month gap for issues. There was another 2-month gap for issues. Then we saw recently a 1-month gap. And I'm sorry, a book like She-Hulk that had a TV show running alongside it, you really had no excuse to be really, really consistent.
This should have been being developed at the same, like this should be coming out at like not the same time, because it would be weekly, but like we should have gotten a little bit more.
It should have been a little bit more consistent in line with that, because it's free advertising. People like a character on a show, they want more. Go to your local comic shop, buy the book. But this is issue 7. We get some She-Hulk boinking, which is really, really nice. The only problem is who she's boinking. I don't like this Jack of Hearts character. I mean, I think here's the thing. He's cute. He's kind of got that like golden retriever-esque energy. And I'm like, okay, I really like that. But hear me out. We have been spoiled and given that relationship with her and Matt Murdock in the TV show. And at this point, the whole time I'm reading it, I'm like, what if this was Matt Murdock? What if this was, you're on mute, by the way. What if this was Matt Murdock? What if it was Daredevil and She-Hulk boinking? And how
I don't
spicy
think
could
that
that
they
be?
could ever do that in the comic. I think that would be
They'll
I
find a
don't
way.
I just don't think that it would work because it happened the way it happened in the show. I think that it could only happen in the comic book or the show, and I'm glad we did get it in the show.
I need more though, Jen.
I understand, but I do also think, here's my thing, is that I think that She-Hulk deserves someone, because obviously She-Hulk and I don't know, Jack of Hearts,
They're very cute.
There's a size difference. I wish that She-Hulk was gonna bang someone. Like if I was She-Hulk, I would go back into Jennifer Walters form to maybe like have sex with Homeboy, but I think that she deserves to have sex with someone like just as large and just as indestructible as she is. So I would like to see that relationship. Like what other, like,
here's our question for the show. Who are we shipping She-Hulk with today? I like Scott's little comment of Matt Murdock is a bad boyfriend. Listen, pal. I never said that they had to be boyfriend and girlfriend. I said they had to be bang buddies. There's a difference. There's not really a commitment there. I understand Matt Murdock has issues with commitment and is kind of bad and, you know, is the bad boy of Marvel Comics when it comes to sleeping around with multiple women. That's fine. Yeah. I just want Jennifer Walters to be included in that sleeping around. I wish that I could trade her relationship with Iron Man for her relationship with Matt Murdock, because I'm sorry, that's really creepy to me that she banged her best friend's now husband. Is that weird? Because in the comics, She-Hulk and Hellcat are like BFFs. They're like best friends forever. Well, in the Dan Slott run, it's established that She-Hulk has had multiple intimacies and relationships with Iron Man. And now Hellcat is not only engaged in a relationship, but is full on engaged with the ring, with the marriage, with the last name. And I feel like there's some type of code. You know, we've seen Euphoria. You don't sleep with your best friend's ex-boyfriend, let alone get married to them.
Yeah.
That's weird. I don't know.
I like the thought of She-Hulk and Juggernaut always having like a sneaky link around.
A sneaky link?
Yeah.
That is a weird relationship. I remember seeing or reading that and being like, okay, this is what we're doing.
Yeah. You know what? Hashtag hear me out.
Hashtag hear me out. All comics is fan fiction.
100%. But hear me out. I would like to see She-Hulk with Wolverine.
Hasn't that already happened though?
Has it? Someone needs to tell me an exact issue.
I can't see that not happening. Like, she slept with about as many people as Black Widow has.
Yeah.
I feel like that's had to have happened. She-Hulk needs... Okay, we're talking about all these people that She-Hulk is dating. We're forgetting, and who she's smashing. We're forgetting the main person here that needs to be smashed, and that person is me. I need the smashing of the She-Hulk.
You need to get smashed by She-Hulk. Yes.
I need to be smashed by She-Hulk. We've got Scott coming in with a short king with a large queen, which I agree. Hear me out. Hashtag hear me out. I am also a short king. I am 5 foot. I am the very shortest of the various kings. I would like to be with the large queen. I am eternally, because I'm on my Game of Thrones quick right now. I am eternally Tormund, where I'm like, is the big woman here? Because every woman is a big woman for me.
Hashtag hear me out. I just had to like look up this picture. Oh dang. I'm trying to look this up and just find the regular.
I hope this is a big enough Smash report for you, John. That is me. Yeah. I would like that to be me in every situation.
Hear me out. This is She-Hulk and Wolverine.
It is. It is. Hear me out. Somebody please draw that. Thank you. I already have
Okay.
a version of that saved on my phone with her and Matt Murdock. I need a
Oh, geez.
collection of versions of that image with She-Hulk and other various characters, including myself, in the Marvel
Yes.
Universe.
Well, other Marvel books did come out this week. I've got 3 more. Do you have any others?
I have one more.
Okay. I'm going to go a little bit quickly with these ones so we can talk about the last one. Guardians of the Galaxy, Cosmic Rewind. It felt like a little annual. It's a self-contained one-shot story where oh my goodness, I forget her name, but she's like wants to interview Star-Lord, but she starts interviewing him at the wrong time because he's got a fight, and it basically turns into everyone starts getting interviewed by her before him. It was really, I don't know, it was kind of bland.
It looks
Kind of
kind of
boring.
bland. That's why I
It
didn't
was.
read
It
it.
was. I grabbed it because it was a number one.
It gave me bland energy.
100%. The other one that I got that I really liked, but I feel like I need another reread to really like understand the characters and get to know them a little bit better, and that was Tiger Division. It's basically like a all Asian like superhero team for Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked it, but it did discuss a lot of like colonialism, the way that war has affected some of these characters. So there's a lot more that it's saying than just
All right, we gotta pause because Jarrell came in with the facts, and I'm not very happy right now. Apparently, we're back to the She-Hulk smash report. She-Hulk tried to smash Logan, but said he did not want Juggernaut sloppy seconds.
says the man
Fuck
who is
Wolverine.
literally getting, I mean, I don't ever want to call fucking Jean Grey Cyclops' sloppy seconds, but like, come on, dude, you're like in a threesome with Cyclops, fucking cop Cyclops, idiot,
Cop-clops.
and you won't. This needs to be rewritten. That should have all.
Yeah, who wrote that? I need to speak with that individual.
Yeah, we have words
in a Denny's parking lot.
So, anyways, Tiger Division was pretty good. I do want to see more of it. But
who wrote this Tiger Division? Because that feels like a Greg Pak book.
No, it is. Kim is their last name. I'm going to see. I'm looking for the title page. Which for easy access should always be on page 1, but I'm not finding it here. Last name Kim. Maybe is it the very, very back? Emily Kim. The artist is Crease Lee, color artist Yen Nitro, and letterer Ariana Maher. So Emily Kim. I really enjoyed it. Last book. It was, if we didn't have so many good indie books this week, this one would probably be, I would say, our favorite. Very surprising.
I still can't believe I read this book.
I actually am surprised you did too. I almost because I did read all these this morning with the exception of like 2.
I'll be honest, I only read this book for the writer. Once I learned who the writer was, I was like, okay, I like when women write Deadpool.
Hashtag hear me out.
Hear me out.
Hold on. Sorry. I'm just flipping through Deadpool because I know I'm going to get to a page. So you may have glossed over it because you get these like kind of like pages all the time. Alyssa Wong, fun 9 facts about Alyssa Wong.
They're non-binary. Okay.
They're non-binary. So that
either
was
way,
news to me.
I like when non-men, we're going to say that. I like when non-white men write Deadpool. Yeah. Gail Simone writing Deadpool was one of the greatest Deadpools. So having a non-binary individual writing Deadpool is very exciting. This book is just, let's preface this. I don't like Deadpool. I like the movies. The movies are fun. Yeah. I like the movies. The movies are fun. I can turn my brain off. I can laugh, go ha ha, he he, ho ho. I don't like the character. I think he's annoying. I hate when he shows up and stuff. Is it because he was created by Rob Liefeld? Maybe. Is it because he's got weird feet? Probably. I am just not a huge Deadpool fan. I think he's overrated, and I'm tired of seeing him at conventions.
I think that the reason why I never connected with Deadpool is because I have met way too many people who are really, really, really into Deadpool. And the way that I think that they idolize Deadpool is in the same way that they idolize the Punisher or things like Fight Club.
Ooh.
When in reality, like Deadpool, the way that the Deadpool has been written is that he is pansexual. And in this book, I think
Queer
one of
as
the reasons
fuck.
why I like it is that we've never really seen, we've been told that Deadpool is like kind of pansexual for a very long time, but in this one, Deadpool is kind of got the hots for a they them baddie.
I just liked it. Like the humor was really solid in this book. It was cool. There was cool characters introduced. We have this like Poison Ivy-esque villain who was
Yes,
like,
yeah.
I'm going. So listen, all right. Oh God, I just realized what this is. So Deadpool #1 is an Mpreg story, and I'm just now realizing that. And now that I know that, now that I've connected those dots, I don't know how to feel. But the whole premise of this book is Deadpool gets drugged and tied up by, again, a very like familiar-esque Poison Ivy type character.
Yeah.
Not necessarily with the green, but just in the mannerisms, you know, her want for a new world and the weird experiments and things like that. And she's like, I got this little like Carnage symbiote type little thingy. I'm gonna put it inside of you, and you're gonna carry this.
It's going to be a little bit of
And
a Cletus.
you're gonna give birth to this little Cletus Cassidy. And that's
And
funny.
you're gonna be this like incubator for this carnage. This scientist got a little bit of the carnage during this the carnage event that happened this last year, and so she's like, I'm gonna go ahead and put this in you.
But I feel
You're
like
gonna
what I
grow this
like
carnage
about it
baby.
is how like anti Deadpool is about it. Like I don't feel like Deadpool is anti about carrying a weird experimental baby. It's the idea that Deadpool hates Carnage so much and is so anti-Carnage. Like
Yeah.
it's specifically the Carnage factor that he's upset with, not necessarily the fact that he's an incubator. And I think
And
that's funny.
I think that when this particular type of writing is done well, it hits so hard and it's chef's kiss. But what it does is we get introduced, Deadpool is going to carry this carnage baby, but then wait, what happened? Something else happened, and he goes back into time, where then you find out that he also has to kill Doc Ock in the next 48 hours or else he will die. And so then it like adds to the story where the person who put the symbiote in him is like,
Well, shit, now I
now,
gotta help you out in killing Otto Octavius, or else my little Cletus baby is going to die.
yeah.
And it's kind of funny to me. But there's two things about this book in particular that I really, really love. So this has the best Jonathan Hickman info dump I have ever seen in a comic book. I
knew
think that
you
it's
would love
so
that.
funny. So we get our traditional like little info dump that we've come to know and loathe in
love it.
this whole
I love
Dawn
it.
of X saga. But it's basically Deadpool like crossing out stuff and writing his own things. And I love when Deadpool does shit like that. Like it's the little things like that that I enjoy when he's just being stupid and not edgy, when he's just a dumbass. I really like those. But also this book probably wins for page of the year, because there is a page that is a recreation of, Charlie Day and It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, doing the little bulletin board. And I think that's fucking hilarious. This is one of my favorite references in any piece of media ever. I just love that scene so much.
No Pepe Silva.
I've never watched It's Sunny in Philadelphia. Yes, I know, crazy coming from somebody who lives in Philly. It's fine. It's whatever. You'll be okay. But
I have to disagree. The best page, yes, that was a very great splash page, but to me, this page right here in Deadpool,
okay, well,
I cannot believe we get this Art Nouveau goodness in a Deadpool comic.
Hear me out. These are great pages for two totally different reasons. One is great because it's a fucking meme and hilarious. The other one is great just because it's gorgeous and fantastic and should not be in a Deadpool book, but it is.
Yeah, this one definitely belongs in the Deadpool book. The other one does not.
I just want more dumb meme references. Like, hear
Yeah.
me out. I love when books get really meta and the internet knows our jokes. And like, I can specifically tell that like the comic book creators spend a lot of time on the internet because they include dumb memes like this.
Yeah.
And if there's any book that you can include a bunch of just dumb memes and get away with it, it's Deadpool. So I am now expecting a 1 meme quota per issue.
Yeah. At
Please
least
uphold
one.
that.
Agreed. Deadpool deserves it. Deadpool is definitely the one to like. Yeah.
Oh God, am I gonna read issue 2 of a Deadpool book?
You know what? Even if
Oh,
you
no.
don't, I'm gonna force you to talk about it each week because I will be.
Oh no, I like
Yeah.
a Deadpool book. This is
Yep.
weird. That's a lie. So there is one Deadpool book that I really like, and I'm just gonna put it out there. I really like the Deadpool book, and I think it's the one that Josue is talking about. I believe that it's done by Daniel White. It could not be. I'm gonna be honest. I didn't really pay attention to creators back when I read this. But I like the Deadpool book with zombie FDR. It's just funny to me thinking that FDR is in his little wheelchair trying to eat and kill Deadpool. Bring back zombie FDR into this book, and then it'll be the best Deadpool book ever created.
I really have to celebrate Alyssa Wong. They have done so many things that I really enjoy, and it surprises me that a Deadpool book is the one that I really enjoyed. So thank you for that.
Yes.
Yep. Well, that's all the comics that I have. Anything else
Nothing
that
else.
you've got? This last week, because it was spooky season, I finally finished reading the Elvira biography, and that one was really, really good.
Ooh.
I loved that book. So, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I know that we have like chosen violence to choosing love. I don't
Choosing
know.
love. Choosing violence to choosing love.
Yeah. I'm really excited for, there's a couple things coming out next week that
There's a lot of books next week that are coming out. I feel like next week is going to be stacked. I feel like November's just going to be stacked because we got a stacked week next week. I believe it's the 3rd week is our anniversary week, so of course we're going to be planning something big for that. Again,
what day is that exactly? Again,
I have no clue. I got to pull up my calendar. You think that this show is important enough to me that I know the exact date that we first did it? No, I'm just kidding.
Well, so like you said, you mentioned at the very, very beginning, and it's been scrolling on the bottom here, Casually Comics Store. There's a discount, CASCOM Year 2, YR2. Go to our shop, get some merch.
15% off the entire month of November to help us celebrate our 2nd year anniversary.
And my birthday. It's my
birthday.
Your birthday. So thank you for being here, friends. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for watching the violent craziness that is Casually Comics each and every week.
Yeah, and we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, so come and find us there. We've got some like links and stuff to it. Tell us what your favorite books are. Tell us what your favorite or your
tell us what we should be reading.
Tell us what we should be reading. Like,
tell us who She-Hulk should be smashing.
That's what I want to know. Maybe we'll go ahead and go to Twitter and post a poll or something like who should She-Hulk smash next?
Spoiler, the answer is me.
Well, thank you all so much. I'm going to go ahead and play us out, and we will see you
next week.
Bye.